Okay. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Toni Marcolini. I'm a professor and an attorney here in the great state of New Jersey. I'm joined today with my two co-hosts, attorney and author John Hartmann, and the executive chef at Camp David, the former White House chef, Marti Mongiello. And today we have a very, very, very special guest who I'm excited to introduce. You will know him from his journalism with both TV Guide, Entertainment Weekly, TV Line, which he's the founder of. I don't think there's anybody who doesn't know who he is. If you are an avid reader like I am, you read his book, spoiler alert, The Hero Dies.
The Hero Dies.
The great Michael Ausiello.
Michael, we're going to get started with you in 1 second. All right, Michael, welcome. And Toni, over to you.
Okay, well, the first thing I have to ask before we get into anything else is about your post on Instagram, right? That when you were a child, or I don't know how old you were, maybe you can tell us, you started a Days of Our Lives fan club right from your house that nobody knew. It was like a kid from his house doing it and your parents found out. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, I was. I was young. I was like in my early teens, and I was obsessed with Days of Our Lives, and I was also just obsessed with the sort of the magazines and the fandom around Days of Our Lives as well. And obviously, this is before the internet. So, I would have to wait for things to arrive in the mail or for, magazines to show up at my newsstand to read anything about it. But I belonged to several fan clubs associated with Days of Our Lives, and I got it in my head that I'd like to start my own, and, I think it was 14, 15 years old, and really didn't fully grasp all that was probably involved in starting a fan club, which is essentially a business. But still nonetheless put an ad in one of the soap publications about this new fan club that I was starting for Days of Our Lives. Started getting letters and emails, letters, sorry, about it with checks for the $10 or $12, I think it might have been, annual fee. And my mom intercepted it and freaked out. And she's
I love that.
She's like, where are these checks coming from? You don't have a bank account. You're a kid. Start acting like one.
Yeah, entrepreneurial zeal.
I love that. I mean, the start, right? You had the spark, the interest in entertainment and writing about it. And I guess you were a little starstruck back then, too, like I am to meet you now. Okay, so the real reason I think that I was so interested in having you on, and of course, there's so much to talk about. We can talk about your start, you starting with TV Guide, and I read your column, even back then, and Entertainment Weekly. So I've been a fan and I've read your stuff before. But when your book came out, I guess I was going through it. A time in my life. Not many people know, but I myself am a cancer survivor. And I read your book, I guess at a time when I so needed to feel connected to somebody who got it, who's somebody who understood the journey. And I read your book in one sitting. over the course of one day. And I was so impressed with it. And I felt you had captured literally the journey, the moments, the stages so well that that's why I really wanted to come on and talk to you. It's very personal what you wrote. And I guess I wondered, when was the moment for you when you thought, I have to write this book?
Well, first of all, Toni, thank you very much for saying all that. And before I get into that, I want to sort of get something off my chest here, and I sort of alluded to it a little bit before we started about the Ronald Reagan portrait in this square. Is that John or Joe? I'm sorry.
John. Yeah.
Yeah, John. I have to admit, I'm struggling a little bit here, looking at that man and talking about a book that details a relationship between two men, and thinking about how that man basically decimated our community with the AIDS crisis, his complicity. And I'm struggling a little bit talking about this book and talking about the spirit of the book while also looking at a picture of this man who just basically ravaged our community and led to so many deaths. And I'm wondering if, out of respect for that, you could zoom in.
I'll just check out.
Okay.
Not a problem. Yeah, we should have him get the Elvis picture back up again, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I have to just be completely honest. I didn't realize that that Ronald Reagan was going to figure so prominently in this discussion. And I just want to be honest about that.
It's no problem. It's amazing. One of our exhibits coming up in 2023 actually deals with a hero, an American hero who saved the president's life. And I don't know if you know about this or not, but the only woman ever to shoot and try to kill the president of the United States, there's only been one, Toni, tried to shoot Gerald Ford to death with a handgun in San Francisco as he come out of a hotel. And an American Marine hero, a real man, grabbed her, stopped and fired the gun up into the air because she was still firing it repeatedly, and then wrestled it away from her and saved the president's life. And he was heralded nationwide as a real man who saved the president of the United States. He received so many accolades, Michael, so many accolades, until several days later, it came out, somebody actually ratted him out and outed him, which he did not want done without his permission, and said, this gentleman's gay and lives here in San Francisco. His parents disowned him. Yeah. He was run down a flight of steps, forbidden from ever entering into his parents' house again, removed from his church. It's like unbelievable. How do you go from being an international hero, a United States Marine who saved the president's life during a shooting, and now all of a sudden you are like disowned by your family? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and I mean it's so sad and heartbreaking that it still goes on today. You think we've made a lot of progress, but in many ways we haven't. But we lost a generation of gay men from the AIDS crisis, and Ronald Reagan did not acknowledge its existence until it was too late, and even then really didn't acknowledge it in a way that at least I think anyone feels was acceptable.
Which this leads to a very interesting trivia question I asked my wife about a month ago. I said, honey, do you know who the only president that ever admitted that he laid with another man to the United States Secret Service and the American Senate? Do you know the only president in writing?
No.
It was Gerald Ford.
Okay.
Because Donald Rumsfeld, who just passed away, took his body, threw him into the limousine, and laid down on top of him as that thing sped away to try and protect him.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting trivia question. They obviously were both heterosexual men, but it's just that to me is unbelievable. An American hero who was disowned by his family was just unbelievable. And it's the subject of an exhibit that we're working on for 2023.
Great. Toni, I'm so sorry. You asked a question about an hour ago.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I was wondering, when was the moment, because it is such a personal story that you told. I mean, when was the moment that you said, I have to share this?
The moment came after I was approached about writing the book. Like it wasn't my idea to write a book. I wasn't thinking of writing a book, but an acquaintance of mine was an editor at Simon & Schuster, reached out to me and had sort of been following my journey, Kit's journey and my journey on Facebook. Because I sort of been detailing to our sort of the close circle of friends what Kit had been going through and his diagnosis, and sort of taking them, sort of letting them in a little bit on what was happening. And after Kit died, Rakesh, who was the editor at Simon & Schuster, reached out to me several months after and asked if he thought I might be interested in writing a book about it. And my first reaction was, no. I didn't say this, but I thought this. It was like, the thought of going back and revisiting his death in specific, painstaking detail seemed like a nightmare to me. At the same time, the opportunity to introduce Kit to thousands of new people, potentially millions, was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. He just was so special, and what he went through was so difficult, and I felt like there was a story there, like deep in my heart. I felt like I would be doing I'd be doing myself an injustice if I didn't do the difficult thing and just sort of plow ahead and tell this story. So, I thought about it for a couple of weeks and got back to them and said, yeah, I think, God help me. I think I want to write this story.
Well, it's a poignant story from beginning to end. Of course, I mean, I knew the ending before I started it, but I felt like I was, every page I read, I guess, oddly, I kept hoping something different would happen by the time he got to the end of the book. But of course, we know that he ultimately did pass from cancer. And I mean, I have to be honest, what I was most surprised about in reading the book is how honest you are. I mean, this was a warts and all tale. I mean, you didn't turn around and change Kit into maybe somebody he wasn't. You portrayed him, I imagine, exactly like he was. There was a lot of humanity there. There was the fun side to him, the humorous, the kind, the part you fell in love with, and then you put the negative parts of being with him and the parts of his character that maybe weren't so flattering. Mm-hmm. How did you make that decision? Because I think most people writing a book, especially after somebody passes, would have been tempted to truly make a hero out of them and not bring that humanity to the person, just kind of put them up on that pedestal. You didn't do that.
Well, I wouldn't be doing the story justice. I wouldn't be doing him justice if I sugarcoated him and softened all of his edges, all his the good and bad things about him are what made him Kit. And also, I didn't sort of airbrush myself either. I don't necessarily come off as I definitely don't come off as sort of a flawless person, because I'm not. We were both flawed people. Our relationship was flawed, but there was so much love there. That it's really basically, as cheesy as it sounds, it's like it's a love conquers all kind of story, and we were opposites, and there was just, I know as someone who watches television a lot and the movies that I love and the books that I remember are the ones that tell the story of flawed characters, people who aren't perfect, because none of us are. I felt like I would be diminishing Kit and the story itself if I were to sort of just go in and shoot everything.
Would he have liked it? Would he like the book?
Oh, that's tough. I don't like to speak for him. I think he would. I think ultimately, he might take issue with, maybe I got a couple little things wrong about his career or his tastes. He might take issue with some of those things. But for the most part, I think he would like it. I think he would be amused by it. I think he would be moved by it. But again, I don't know. And that's one of the scary things. He's not here. He wasn't here for me to consult or to bounce ideas off of. And there were certainly periods, there still are, where I struggle with, did I reveal too much? Did I do right by him? And ultimately, I think the response to the book is what sort of gives me some sense of peace when people like yourself reach out to me and who have been through similar struggles, either with cancer or in LGBTQ relationship, and say that they felt seen reading the book. And also, it's wonderful when I hear people say how much they loved Kit, who had never met him before.
Wow.
And that also is really heartening to me and makes me feel like I did a good thing.
Well, Michael, I've never met you before, but you have such a heartfelt, loving mannerism about you. I would think that the reaction to the book is very positive in heaven. So when we come back, Toni, it's amazing that Missy Graham of New York is one of our sponsors today. But we'll be back in 1 second. And when we come back, Toni is going to pick it up with a brand new question for you.
Did you ever miss someone who has passed away? Now there's Miss You Graham app, giving people a brand new way to tribute the lives of deceased loved ones, or simply remember tender memories. This exclusive app is a user-friendly social media platform, giving people everywhere a respectable and comfortable place to create private or public memoriams. Miss You Graham has additional features like chat rooms and links to deceased databases and inspirational quotes. Users can also comment and connect on public posts. Join us and keep memories alive forever. Everyone wants to be remembered. For more details and download on the Google Play or Apple App Store, visit miss-u-graham.com.
Hi, we're back with Michael Ausiello. Michael, I've read that the book was optioned by Jim Parsons from The Big Bang Theory.
Yep.
Is it true?
Yes.
So what was that like, getting that phone call?
Well, it was actually, I found out in person because Jim, when I was doing my book tour 3 years ago, I had asked Jim, because we had crossed paths many times, because I covered The Big Bang Theory a lot. So I've interviewed him, and we always had a really friendly rapport. And when I was looking for moderators for the various Q&As I was doing at around the country, I asked him if he would moderate the one in LA. And he he said yes, I believe, before even reading the book. And then he read the book. And when we were at the Barnes and Noble at the Grove backstage, before going out, him and his husband Todd, who runs the production company, That's Wonderful Productions, alluded to the fact that they had a conversation about potentially optioning the book. So it was kind of incredible before we walked out on stage to sort of to hear that. It was mind blowing and also incredibly exciting, slightly terrifying. And then a couple months later, the deal was done and it happened, and I couldn't be happier to be in business with him.
Is he going to be actually playing you in the film?
Yeah, so he's playing me. And the movie has since been picked up at Focus Features. So there's a studio, and we're deep into development, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be shooting it hopefully sometime later this year.
Oh, that's exciting!
Wow. Amazing.
Thinking that Jim Parsons going to be playing you.
I know. It's so strange. It's sometimes I catch myself and and it hits me, like sort of like the way it just hit you when you said it, and it's very surreal in those moments. But I think part of it doesn't still quite feel real, and it might not feel real until I'm sitting in a movie theater. And, God willing, everything goes according to plan, how we get to make this movie, sitting in the movie theater and just watching him play me, then it will probably hit me.
Imagine telling that 15-year-old you, who for the Days of Our Lives fan club, that someday not only the best-selling book, but, a very, very famous actor was going to be playing you.
I know. And it's incredible. I grew up in a small town in Rosa Park. I talk a little bit in the book about how I was, an overweight kid, obviously a closeted kid. And it feels that it's been quite a journey from that what I call Fat Mike, which is how I refer to him lovingly, to where I am now. But it's also bittersweet because, the book, the movie, all of it came from a tragedy, and
wow.
So all of it is tinged with a bit of sadness, that's something that I struggle with too.
But that's real. There's so it was so real, the moments that you captured along the way. I thought both from kids' experience with going through everything, and also from the spouse's perspective, or from the family member's perspective of watching it, and you perceived everything very differently, right? Mm-hmm. The person, going through those stages of maybe, anger and denial and, hoping and, and hope, and then kind of resigned himself, and I hate to say saying goodbye, but starting to know that the end was near. And I think there's that one experience, and then there's the family member's experience, which is very different. And I thought you really captured both. Sometimes you read a book and there's one chapter that's about somebody, and the next chapter is about somebody else, and but that's all fiction. Like you literally captured both points of view so eloquently.
Oh, thank you.
And I thought it spoke to me because some of those moments, even with how he felt in those moments, I really felt connected. Which why I reached out and I said, thank you. Your book actually made a difference. It mattered. I was like, I finished at 3:00 in the morning, and I'm like, and I know, I'm like crying.
That it means a lot. It means a lot to hear that. So thank you.
It was a very tough time for Toni. She's a very, very powerful and successful attorney known across the tri-state region. I was sending her baskets of fruit, Michael, kiwis, all types of stuff. It was a very, very difficult time for anybody.
How are you doing, Toni? With
I'm in remission. I
amazing.
feel so blessed. You know, I used it as an experience to change my life, to try to cut down on stress. I changed how I eat and how I live. I'm on like a whole food plant-based diet, and I exercise, and I have stress techniques that I incorporate into my life. So I really tried to use it to change everything about myself, because I was leading 80-hour work week, overly stressed lifestyle, and I didn't care how I ate, and it really does matter.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing well.
Thank you. You're a vegetarian, right? Or
I'm a pescatarian, so I eat seafood.
Yeah.
I'm for no chicken, no meat, no pork.
Right. Favorite fish right now, or favorite fish this month?
I've always been partial to swordfish, but the high mercury count in it has sort of taken me off of it late, there's such an awareness to it, and I think maybe I was in denial about it for a while. I also like shrimp. I'm a big shrimp fan.
Yes. Yeah, we took our daughter all the way over to the coast, and I was so proud of her, Michael. We brought her into, we were watching the boats, because we rented a place for like 2 weeks on the beach, and one night they come out there, and they stayed all night long, and you could see their lights were on and stuff, and then they went away like 2 days later. So we took her down to the local fish market off the North Carolina coast, and we were showing her all the kinds of fish and trigger fish, and of course they had a little bit of this, because when you bring in the net, it's we got 5 trigger fish in there, and different fish. But I did make her go into the shrimp basket, and I was really adamant of the fact I wanted her at of course 9 years old at the time, but to go in there and get the shrimp with the heads and the tentacles and everything. We went back home and we made her clean them and everything to see, the real truth of nature. And she wasn't a baby about it at all. Another shrimp lover. She was not a little priss. So I just was super proud of her for doing that. Yeah.
So you mentioned, Michael, that you grew up in New Jersey, Roselle Park, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And if I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but that you're developing a show about your experience. Is that accurate?
Yes. Ben Stevenson is an executive at Robot, which is J.J. Abrams' production company, who had read my book and loved the book and called me in for a meeting, and we were discussing, just talking about my life, and he was particularly interested in my childhood, which I touch on in the book, a bit about being a soap opera fanatic growing up, and one thing led to another, and we decided to try to turn it into a television show about a kid in a small town, New Jersey, who sort of fantasizes about an alternate universe, soap opera alternate universe. Because when I was a kid, I used to write my own soap opera. In addition to watching them, I wrote my own, and I still have all 300 some odd scripts in my late mother's storage trunk here, and I saved all of that, and so we're just sort of figuring out how can we make that a TV show, and that's not something I've ever seen before. I've never seen sort of the Wonder Years sort of told from a gay perspective, and also with this added soap opera fantasy element.
I love that. We have that. We can bond over this. When I was young, I used to have my Barbie dolls, and I literally used to write a soap opera for them. So they would have their real lives, and then I would, drive them over to the studio, and they would act out the soap operas that I created, and then drive home to their regular lives. So
that's amazing. Well, what's interesting is it's such a relatable thing for kids growing up pre-internet and pre-gaming, when we had to create our own entertainment, and also for I find in the LGBTQ community that there were not a lot of options for us, or the options that were presented to us in terms of entertainment we didn't like. Like I wanted to play with Barbies. That I wanted desperately to play with Barbies. I would sneak across the street to my friend Linda Sweeto's house and play with them and then rush home. And I obviously wouldn't tell my dad. But I had to make compromises and sacrifices and find my own entertainment and amusement. And one of those things was telling this story, which was called Beverly Hills. But I find in talking to a lot of my gay friends that they also did the same thing. They all had this sort of this storytelling vibe. And part of it, I think, is because you want to escape. You want to escape from your environment, your current situation, and what better way to do it than in a world that you create yourself.
Well, you have the heart of a writer, that's for sure. I'm curious. We'll be following to see this new show come out. I'm excited.
Well, it's just in development, so I want to be very clear. It's like the thing is, and as someone who's covered television for as long as I have, I know how difficult it is to get a television show made. Like there are a million ideas, things are being developed, pilot scripts are being written, pilots are being picked up, but to actually get to a series is, the odds are stacked against you. But I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, I believe in the idea. The team at Bad Robot is incredible. But that said, we're pretty far away from actually starting to shoot the show.
Well, you're busy anyway with the movie coming up and with all that you do, the TV line.
Yes.
I know we're out of time, but there was so many other things I really wanted to get to. I'm hoping that you'll say yes to come back again.
I would love to.
Oh my gosh, and update us on what you're doing. Yeah.
And there's so many other things I really wanted to get to, but I know there are time constraints and the like, but I have to let you go, but I was just hoping before you left, you promise you'll come back.
I will definitely come back. And I just want to quickly say, I didn't mean for John to leave. I was just hoping he would get rid of that.
I think he was feeling more sensitive that he didn't want to hurt you any further within his kindness and how disruptive maybe that. Normally he has the picture of Elvis up. I don't know where that Reagan came back again from.
So much preferred Elvis.
We made him take it down. He had it like the first podcast, and we were like, take it down. Yeah. And he took it down and put Elvis up. I don't know how it got back up.
Well, we appreciate you so much, what you've gone through, what you're doing every day in the LGBTQIA lifestyle. My daughter is non-binary. We have several gay gentlemen in our family. We love everybody, and we're very proud of you and your work, Michael.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And again, before I let you go, thank you. It meant something to me. It really did.
Sure did.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be good.
Bye.